Hi. Thanks. I'm really glad to be here this evening. I currently teach. I was having a discussion with Steve about teaching. But let's see. I have a master's in education. Much of my life I spent being a daycare provider before I got the master's in education. But it was a career change, a midlife change. I finished my master's when I was 50. The year I turned 50, I finished my master's. And I did get a job in the Chicago Public Schools that previous year before the master's was actually completed. And I taught on the south side of Chicago for a year. And then I was a substitute teacher for a year. And due to the war that is being waged against teachers right now, I'm a casualty of that war. And I give, and I'm talking about the political war. I'm talking about the political and corporate war against teachers. So I give tremendous props to anybody who goes into a classroom, especially the Chicago classrooms. They deserve gold medals every day. So I'm currently teaching. I teach an enrichment program, several enrichment programs. I teach Spanish to preschoolers, I teach computers to preschoolers, and I teach Mad Science, which is an after-school science program, which I just started teaching, and it's very enjoyable. My political activism, some of my material gives some of that information. I was a community organizer, and as a community organizer, I led a fight to close a drug house that was 3 doors from my own house. I led a fight to get a playground for our school, and I led a fight for downzoning for our entire neighborhood and most of the ward at the time. And to do that, I was and my group were the friendly enemies of Alderman Mell. And that's where I sort of cut my teeth on the idea that you got to lean on them to get them to do something that's right. So that's where I come from. Also, I moved from that neighborhood and became a Move On activist and was lobbying Mr. Quigley as a Move On activist and found out how not progressive Mr. Quigley is. Our country, as I believe we all know, is in crisis, and to solve our problems, we must get our priorities straight. There are no shortages of viable, progressive solutions. What we have is a shortage of political fortitude. What we need are progressive champions. We need champions for the solutions that we know will work. And right now, we need to get our country back on track and move toward the green, sustainable future that we all deserve. It's time for us to vote our values. It's for too long. We've looked to the Democratic Party to stand up for us, and that has yielded very mixed results. More and more in the last few years, even more disappointing results. In the 5th Congressional District, voters have an opportunity to vote for a Green Party progressive champion. Now, I know that a lot of you here don't live in the 5th District, but that doesn't mean you can't support me. It doesn't disqualify you from supporting me. I have been a political and community activist for more than 25 years, and when Occupy showed up, they inspired us to take an extra step, an extra courageous step. Like you, what I'm hearing is you have spent many hours in legislators' offices. I have spent hours in Mr. Quigley's office, who, by the way, is not a member of the Progressive Caucus. He is only one of only 2 Democrats in the Chicago area who is not a member of the Progressive Caucus. I have spent many hours in legislators' offices trying to get them to do the right thing. When Occupy showed up, it inspired me to do the right thing, to be the change that I want to see in the world, and to run for office. So that's what I decided to do. I stand for progressive solutions, some of which I've already heard here tonight. Fairness in taxation and the Robin Hood tax. Pass the Buffett rule to start undoing the inequities in our tax structure. It is not the answer, but it is the start. Right now, the top wealth holders pay a significantly smaller percentage in taxes than the rest of us. Beyond that, the marginal income rate should return to pre-1981 levels, at least 70%. A transaction tax should be charged on Wall Street transactions, and I know this group is well versed on that. Those who profit from gambling with our economic futures should pay back. With these revenues, we must create jobs that benefit our communities. Use the resulting billions of dollars not only to pay down the deficit, but to create youth corps, senior corps, support mental health facilities, park corps, educational improvements, the programs that we know that we need in our communities that right now are being gutted. Invest in environmentally responsible energy, such as solar, wind, and geothermal. Initiate programs to promote conservation. Much of the energy that we use is simply wasted. There's a tremendous amount of energy that can just be saved through conservation, and at the same time, this can revitalize our economy by providing green, sustainable jobs that cannot be outsourced. End the wars. Cut the basic military budget by 25% over the next decade. National defense has become the nation's largest employer. It is the #1 employer of our young people. Bring this money home. Give our young people a reason to look here at home for jobs that are available to them instead of being forced into jobs in the military. Lift the student loan debt burden. Forgive unreasonable student debts. Create a modern-day version for everyone of the GI Bill that helped our grandfathers and our fathers and created an economic and creative boom for an entire generation. The original GI Bill spurred growth. We can do it again for all who want higher education. Create the incentive of a free higher education for us now. Universal health care through Medicare for all. The U.S. is the only advanced country that does not provide this basic human right to its citizens. We must remove the profit-taking middlemen. The only thing that an insurance company ever did was relieve our pocketbooks of money. It hasn't relieved us of any of our health care woes. Taking the insurance companies out of the equation would immediately reduce healthcare costs by 40%. Get the big money out of politics. All political contributions over $1,000 should be disclosed. Candidates should have public financing after showing a reasonable threshold of support. The Constitution must be amended to specify that human beings have the rights in our Constitution, not corporations. Corporations are not people, my friend, and money is not speech, it is property. We should reorganize mortgages and resurrect the Glass-Steagall Act. Underwater homeowners should be able to reorganize their mortgages under bankruptcy. Without this, it will take more than 10 years to clear up the disaster that is our housing market right now. The Glass-Steagall Act would break up the biggest banks so they're no longer too big to fail and dependent on taxpayer bailouts. I call for a national environmental defense plan. Our planet is under siege. The U.S. is the world leader in consumption of fossil fuels. We should be the world leader in turning that around and moving towards the green, sustainable economy that we can have and that we must have and that we deserve. Every decision we make must take into account the impact that human activities have on our environment that we depend on and which every other living being depends. Stop subsidizing the fossil fuel industry. Stop the wars that are defending only fossil fuel interests. Immediately turn our full attention and political will to adopting alternative fuels and conservation and revitalize our economy in the process. Now, I've been going door to door in the 5th District. And in addition to going door to door in the 5th District, the reason that I am on the ballot in the 5th District is that the established parties, which have, and there's a little bit of technicality here, 5% of the votes in a district gives a party established party status. And the law says that an established party still needs to get signatures to get on the ballot, 600 of them. A new party, which we had to file as, needs 5,000. We turned in 9,000. And I got a lot of those myself. So I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of people. People are really ready for a change. I have seen it firsthand talking to many thousands of people. They recognize that drastic and real change needs to happen. So it's time to stop doing the same thing and hoping that something's going to change. It is time to support a progressive Green Party champion. Thank you.